Welcome to Barrel It Up. I'm your host, Jay Ciambrone. Today we're talking to Learakos brothers. I got it right that time. How
You
about
did.
that?
You did.
All right.
Said it just like a Greek.
Yeah, those Greeks, they have these names that, just very difficult. Us Italians, not at all, but these Greeks are very difficult to talk to. But this is a second interview with these two gentlemen, and the first part of it, hopefully you've already heard, was about their experiences in baseball and why they continue to play baseball, like a lot of other people. It's a generational thing. Our parents didn't do that. They didn't keep playing any sport till they were 50, 60, 70 years old. Like my father, childhood depression kind of thing, you had to work. You didn't have time to recreate. My father it was 20 years before he got used to the fact that I was playing baseball on Sunday. What are you doing? You're supposed to be working. I said, Dad, it's Sunday. It took him about 20 years, but then he got over it. So welcome both of you back to the show.
Thank you.
And this part's going to be a little different because one of the important things and reasons for doing these podcasts is not only people who are playing baseball to this kind of age, but they have very interesting stories outside of that. And I think both of you have very interesting stories, whether you think so or not. And so we'll go into that and we'll go back and forth a little bit on this. Age before beauty again. So you get out of school,
Yeah.
and we talked about you playing ball, but what were you doing to earn a living at that point?
Well, right out of college, it was the 5 best years of my life at Orange Coast College. I started working for an advertising agency, flying all over the country, first class. It was awesome, till it wasn't awesome anymore because the company closed.
Oh,
so then I started, cooking and working in food service business, and I was working in produce. And the connection was that I got approached by Joe Huntsman, and he said, "Can you pitch on Sunday and Saturday?" I go, "I can only pitch on Sunday. I can't pitch on Saturday." "Why?" "Because I got to work." He goes, "What the hell do you do? You got to work on Saturday? What do you do?" I go, "I sell produce." He goes, "What do you make?" I said, $300 a week. He goes, "You got to be nuts." He goes, You're selling lettuce that goes bad. You come and see me, I'll teach you how to sell lettuce that doesn't go bad. You make $300 a day. I go, "What do you do?" He goes, "Mortgage loans." That's how I started in the mortgage business, was I wanted to play more baseball. So that was my progression. And I've been doing mortgage loans since 1980.
And he was the smart one, because I remember he invited us both on his yacht that day. And
his yacht. Yeah.
Yes. And I thought, oh man, this is a little stranger danger, a little creeper action here. I'll stay home and watch the College World Series on ESPN. You go ahead and hang out with that guy, because I'm a little... Boy, did I choose unwisely.
What did you do right away out of school?
So we are, I'm third generation restaurateur. So our dad was a chef. He ran restaurant companies. So we worked in restaurants in high school and college, but he did not want his boys to stay in the restaurant business.
Why was that?
Because of the hours, because it's a lot of hard work, and it's tough. It's a grind. So I went into food service distribution. I became a food service sales rep, and I did that for about a year and a half. But that was where I met my wife. But I had this bug to go back into it because, first of all, and I won't make this a long story, but I realized that when you're commission, you're subject to the commission structure.
That's right. Yeah.
So at 21 years old, I'm the highest paid sales rep of 120 salespeople, and they can't have that because I've only been doing this for a couple of months. I just got lucky. I ran into a former Greek admiral who had a shipping supply company. But the point is, they went, "You can't make that much, so we're going to change your commission."
Oh, yes, I've been through that, yeah.
Yeah, and I went, "Oh, well, this sucks." So Ted and I went in together on a restaurant. So I stayed in the food industry as a food service distributor, as a poultry processor, which is a really glamorous occupation. Turkeys and chickens.
With the restaurant, I remember going in there, and I remember seeing his plaque on the wall, his chef's thing. I don't remember seeing your plaque on the wall.
No, I am not a chef. I had to make a living. We always say that's an advanced degree. Somebody hires the chef. I was the guy that hired the chef. So I was a restaurateur.
How did it come about, that particular restaurant that you ended up?
The last one or the first one? Did you even know about
The first one. Oh, I don't even know about the first one. Let's go to the first one.
The first one was called THEOS.
Uh-huh.
And it's not an ego thing, even though THEOS, Ted in Greek. I don't even know how we picked that name. It's stupid in hindsight. But the point is, it was breakfast, lunch, dinner, full bar.
Mm.
And I was doing mortgage loans while I was helping my baby brother run the restaurant. And we were doing really well until one of the big purveyors.
Well, we had a partner that was supposed to exit after a year.
Yeah.
That didn't exit. Once he saw we were doing well, he wanted to hold on to it. And all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, we're working for him.
Yeah. So we tapped out of that, and then came the one that you've been to, the Katella Grill, which was a great run. I'll let Mike talk about that because I tried to stay away from there because I was afraid that if I walked in there, he would make me work.
We did one
What
night.
he should, yeah.
And
did one night.
You know, so he's a Chargers fan, and I'm a Dolphins fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so our running bet was whenever they played, if the Chargers won, then I had to work at the restaurant as a busboy for an hour. And then he would
Did you get tips?
turn the clock back. You kidding me? He would invite all of my friends in to pour like syrup on the table, so I'd have to clean it up. And so that was not enjoyable.
The highlight was he would get into it. So he worked one night, and we kept moving the clock back.
It's the longest friggin' hour of my life.
It was like
And
3 hours.
why are they all laughing? There's people I don't even know that are laughing at me.
Like, this is really difficult. This is hard work. I'm like, yeah, but you've been doing it for 2.5 hours, man. So that restaurant, it was part of the restaurant chain my dad ran, and they decided they wanted to franchise it. I was in the poultry business, much like what Ted was talking about, traveling a lot. Unlike Ted, I did not go to hot spots. I went to Boise, Idaho, Bentonville, Arkansas, Modesto, not glamorous travel. And I get car sick, air sick. So I'll never forget, I go on a trip to Denver. I'm in a holding pattern above the airport in January, so I'm sicker than a dog on the plane. I get to the airport, I get my rental car, I hit black ice. I'm from Southern California. I don't know what black ice is.
Yeah.
I slide off the expressway into the shoulder. I have no idea what the hell just happened. I get to the hotel. I slip and fall in the parking lot. I hit my head. I get to my room. I call my wife and tell her I got there. She goes, "Oh, did you tell your dad?" We lived across the street from there.
Right.
"Oh, did you tell your dad you were traveling?" I'm like, "Nah, I'll give him a call right now." So I call my dad. I'm telling him, I hate traveling. This sucks. And he tells me, he goes, "Well, we're going to start franchising stores. And the one in our city where I worked at as a teenager, it's available. You want to make that the test store, and do you want to go in with me?" Mm-hmm. And so the three of us went in together on that location. And then a couple years later, we just changed the name and did our own thing with it.
Right.
We were there for 30 years.
30 years, my goodness.
And had a spot at Anaheim Stadium and fed the players, both teams, before and after the game.
That's what I was going to ask about. How did that relationship start?
So it's funny, we one of the clubhouse guys lived in the area, would come in, and a couple of the players were complaining about the food that they were getting. So one player, Troy Percival, they put him on a diet. They told him no coffee and no red meat, so he had to have chicken breast. So the clubhouse guys sent him to us. And he would come in and he'd have a double cheeseburger, or he'd have a half-pound cheeseburger, load up on coffee, and then go to the stadium and eat the chicken breast they gave him. And then a couple of the other players, finally, they had enough of the quality of the food, and they'd go, "Look, we'd like to bring them in." So, I think for almost 15 years, we would rotate. We would do food for the club. And then they asked us to come into the clubhouse. We would do omelet bars for day games, and and that's how we were in there on a regular basis. But the beauty of it is they expect, a real variety of food and great quality.
Yeah.
They can afford it. So creatively, we got to do a lot of different things. We had literally 180 different items we would prepare for them. And you had to have a pretty extensive selection for them for each game, and we loved it.
How did that affect your kitchen? Because obviously this is entirely different than what you're normally doing in the kitchen.
Yeah, so the Greek way concept is usually a pretty varied menu.
Right.
So you're still dealing with the same 5 items, but you're, in other words, we're still using a chicken breast.
Right. That's right.
The chicken really doesn't care what you're doing with it after
Yeah.
it's dead.
Yeah. And salmon is salmon, but how you prepare it, the flavor profiles, what you put with it. Again, and it was fun because it allowed us to do different things.
Oh, yeah. Did they pay good?
They did, yeah. It was. They paid great, but it was just fun to do.
It was a blast. One day he calls me and he goes, "Okay, the Yankees are in town. Would you like to work the omelet bar?" It was a day game. I said, "Sure." Well, when the Angels show up, they all live in the area, so
Right.
they show up at different times. And it's not a rush. When the visiting team shows up, it's basically 2 buses. So you have nobody in the clubhouse, then you got everybody in the clubhouse.
That's right.
And it was right coming off of the steroid issue where
Oh, yeah.
A-Rod says, "Yeah, I didn't do steroids. Somebody must have put it in my food." So he couldn't pre-crack the eggs.
Oh.
You had to crack the eggs for the omelet in front of them so they
Oh.
could see. So I'm snowed because, I'm an old line cook. Used to work in an omelet bar, but I had never seen so many people want that omelet so quickly. And so this guy comes up next to me and he goes, "Here, let me help you." So he's cracking eggs. I'm not even paying attention, but he's cracking eggs and he's doing it professional. Boom, 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 boom. And then I'm whipping them up, making omelets. So when the big rush is over, I said, "Thank you, man." He goes, "Would you make me one?" I go, "Sure." It was Mariano Rivera. I said, "Oh my God, you're really good at that." He goes, "Hey, if I didn't have a cutter, I'd probably be doing this."
That was the best part of it is in any group, there's good people.
Right.
You see, we're all humans and individuals and unique. And it was interesting to see how many different types of people. And some of them are great stories. There are a few horror stories.
Yeah, don't go there.
No.
No, there's some nasty stuff.
No, but it's just fun. And ironically, at the age we were doing it, these are like our kids.
Yeah.
We'd see these young guys. I remember this one young kid gets called up from the minors, and he walks up to my omelet bar. Can I get something? I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm here for. What would you like? Can I have anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, pick whatever you want." Mike Trout. I'm back in September, and now the other call up September called, and now Mike is the one telling him, "Hey, go over there to Mike. He'll make you an omelet." But it's just so fun to watch these
Right.
kids come up and then how they interact. But I can't eat a donut now or see a donut without thinking of Big Papi. The Red Sox are in town, and the clubhouse guys bring a box of donuts. I'm the first guy in, so I get a knife and I cut a chocolate donut in half. Okay, now I'm cranking out omelets. The dining room's full of people, and Big Papi wanders in late, and he's like, "Hey," to the whole room, "Who ate half a donut?" No one says anything. I'm like, "Oh, that was me." He goes, "Papi, you can't have half a donut. You make the rest of us look bad. Plus, you're going to come back for the other half anyway." So it was just a lot of fun.
And then how did that transition into having a facility actually at the ballpark?
Actually, we wanted to advertise in the game day program. So I had reached out to the clubhouse guys and go, "Hey, who do I talk to about getting permission to say clubhouse caterers of Angels baseball?" And this is during spring training. And the guy goes, "Oh, the person you need to talk to is right here." And he hands the phone over, and someone goes, "Oh, Mike, I need to talk to, I'll come by your restaurant Monday and we'll talk." I'm like, "Who was that?" I have no idea who that. It turns out it was John Carpino, who's the team president at the time, senior VP. So he comes in. I didn't know who he was. He's just a guy that came and sat at the counter all the time.
Right.
We talk and chat. Just had a lot in common.
Well, see, you didn't even know who he was when he was
No.
there eating every day.
No,
Oh, that's
I had no idea.
I didn't even know.
Had no idea. And they go, "Look, we have a location open in the stadium, but we have a bigger problem. We really don't know food." And I think the comment he made was, I got 7 complaints on food at the stadium all last year. He goes, "I'll get 7 complaints going from the owner's box to the office. So we'll give you the stand, but tell us what we don't know." And that was what we did for the first couple of years is we basically identified for them what the process was like as a food sponsor, as a vendor of what we were going through. And it went over really well, and we had a blast. They're just the best people. We always talk, it was Dennis Kuhl, the team
Right.
chairman, and John Carpino. And I think right after we signed the agreement in May. And the funny thing was we couldn't get the agreement completed. We started this in spring training. It's now mid-May, and we can't get this contract signed.
Right.
So I'm tapping out. I'm done. It's just killing my time. And I tell the account rep, I'm passing. And she goes, no, you got to talk to Dennis Cool. I'm like, why am I talking to somebody else? So it's the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend, and we go in, and we've got the attorneys there, and me and Dennis. And Dennis goes, okay, what's the problem? And the attorneys go, well, what we're doing for Mike, we don't do for anybody. There's a snafu. So Dennis comes up with a solution in, seconds. Well, why don't we do this? Beep, 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 beep. And they're like, well, that works. So now it's just he and I sitting there, and he goes, so what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, oh, I'm playing in a baseball tournament in Las Vegas. You were with us.
That's right.
And we faced Clyde Wright in Halo baseball. And it was a great game. Ted, you played short. And
I've never seen you move so fast on the pitcher's mound.
ground
You
ball.
played short?
Yes.
I played short, and every time somebody hit it to short, he would like
I
dive
dive.
for fear that I would screw it up. Yeah.
But we had it was a great game, just a great day. So I see Dennis in the concourse the week after, and we won and that game. And he goes, hey, I want a rematch after
Yeah,
the
he didn't
season.
appreciate that, did he? He didn't
Yeah,
appreciate
he was the
you.
best. He was the best. Yeah, he goes, hey, I want a rematch after the season, right here at the stadium. So I'm like, yeah, sure.
And
no
there it
problem.
is.
Yep,
And
there it
that's
is.
you, Jay.
That's
Hitting,
right, there's-
hitting.
That's
Not very well.
This is the Bud Cool Wood Bat Invitational. So we said, yeah, well, no problem. And I thought, that'll never happen. Well, in September, his dad had passed away.
Right.
And again, they would come to our restaurant all the time. They would see my dad working there. So there was just a camaraderie that was built by that. And so he says, hey, I want to have that game, but I want to do it in honor of my dad, and we want to make it a fundraiser. And this year will be our 16th event.
Right.
So
I remember the first 5.
Yeah.
I haven't been invited since,
Yeah.
which I, mentioned to you.
security was brought in. And
Oh,
that's
I
how
see.
you got
That's
it
what-
out. Yeah.
You didn't pass the security check.
I run into that a lot.
I
it's-
think part of the problem was you kept getting hits off the Angel pitchers. So you got banned from that. Like,
I'm 1 for 9.
I just want to share with you.
I know that.
I just want to share with you. It was always such a pleasure playing with you, and such a displeasure trying to get you out.
Oh, I don't know if you've ever heard this story. We were playing a doubleheader at Mission Viejo High School, which we didn't do very often. So it got late in the afternoon. For some reason, we were running late, and so he had the advantage pitching that the sun was right where he would come through, right? So I'm sitting there going, okay, I can't see the ball. So I'm just following his motion. I'm going to swing at the sun. And it was a base hit up the middle.
There you go.
Just swinging at the sun.
Follow the bright light.
That's right.
Follow the bright light. Yes. I still can't believe you did that. I think you're the only one that actually hit the baseball. I was a fantastic pitcher with a bright sun right over my shoulder.
That's right. You just didn't change speeds enough on that pitch. That was it.
Well,
If you had changed speeds, I would have been really screwed up.
Jay, I got one speed. It's not fast. There's no changing speeds.
Do you still enjoy pitching?
I do. I love it. And I love it because, actually, I think I have more fun in the 18 and over because they want to hit fastballs.
Yeah.
I don't have one. So that gives me a distinct advantage. And, you just change speeds, hit spots. It's so much fun. It's one thing with older guys, but they tend to have my bat speed. So, but it's fun against young guys.
I think what's cool about you pitching now is that your experience as a catcher is what made you a great pitcher, because you recognized as a catcher how you have to slow the bat down, speed the bat up, change locations. It's about location. It's not about velocity. And but I will say that one thing that is really annoying every Sunday when he's out there pitching is occasionally he will shake the catcher off.
Ooh.
Now, you have heard this story. I could not shake the catcher off when you know who was the catcher.
Oh, no, not allowed.
No, because he would tell the hitter what was coming. Okay, I guess he doesn't want to throw that. He'd rather throw this.
Yeah, but the funny thing, he didn't figure it out until he went and saw Bull Durham.
That's right.
You were doing that before
Yes.
he even made Bull Durham.
That's what he figured it out when he went and saw that. And he came, I hadn't seen the movie yet. And he calls me up. He just got back from the theater. He goes, "You son of a bitch! You tell them what's coming, don't you?" I'm like, if your head shakes twice, you're just wasting my time.
That's
Because
true. You give
I'm
me
the one
one.
on my knees. You know, I'm the one that's losing my cartilage back
That's
there,
right.
not you.
That's right.
Yeah.
On a little bit different subject, let's see, in my things, what is a certified military housing specialist?
Well, it's somebody who goes the extra mile to figure out how to help veterans get VA loans. Any licensed loan officer can do a VA loan, but VA loans are a little tricky. I got lucky. I started in the business, and a lot of my friends were veterans that came back from Vietnam, and I learned how to do VA loans very early. It became a passion. So I just took this military housing certification, and I do it every year in order to keep up with the changes. And it just allows me to do a better job getting a veteran a better loan, because anybody can get a VA loan.
Right, right.
But my job's to get them the best.
See, and I never knew that. I thought he built Quonset huts.
You know,
Certified military housing. I thought he was out there.
that's what I'm here for. You get these new things out there.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, thank you.
And how do you get a 5-star?
Just not screwing up. Yeah, it's just basically, it's a volume thing. You have to do a certain number of loans, and you have to have no complaints, or then you get 4-star. So the point is, just don't screw up. That's really the motto of how do you get a 5-star.
And when do you retire from doing that?
You know, our dad told us, find something that you like to do and you never actually work a day in your life. And the bottom line is, I love it. I loved it from the very first time I did it. Maybe it was because of the restaurant background, working 16 hours a day sometimes, working all weekends, all holidays. This still feels like part-time work compared to the restaurant business. And so I just love it. And so as long as I like it, I'll do it. Plus, the other reason is if I retired, Mrs. Learakos would kill me. So
That list is still there for you.
that list would be still there.
It's gotta be
So I gotta
huge.
keep working and playing baseball to avoid the aforementioned list on the last podcast.
But I got to tell you, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but one of the reasons why you're good at it is because of the way we were raised. Meaning, regardless of what business we were in, your customer is the one that pays you and provides you with a living.
Right.
I know for a fact he goes over and above, where others will do the minimum and others are checking boxes. And I think that's kind of the way we were raised.
Yeah, well, I think
It's that hospitality background in some way.
it is. Yeah, I think the restaurant business is great training for anybody in any business because it's people oriented and, you really are driven by results, not by effort. Nobody cares about your effort. They care about your results.
That's right.
Somebody tells me I work really hard. I don't care. Do you achieve the goal? You achieve the
Right.
goal, I'm proud of you. If you just work really hard, but
Maybe you're not very good.
impressed. Yeah, not impressed. We just talked about that last night.
Yeah.
So,
And you've kind of stayed in the business, even though the restaurant's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the food.
So a dozen years ago or so, I got involved with an effort in Orange County that was started by the public health officer to recover excess edible food that would go to waste, but recover that food and get it to nonprofit agencies that feed people. Well, again, being third generation, literally all I've ever had in life has come from food.
Right.
So I value it for what it is, money. Being Greek, it's also cultural. It brings people together. It is the source of life. So I really got into it as a volunteer for 4 or 5 years, and this effort that started in Orange County grew and grew, and it got to the point where we needed to hire someone to lead it, and all we were getting were individuals that wanted access to our Rolodex.
Oh, gee.
So I took on that role in 2016 or so. And it's now called Abound Food Care. But what we do is we recover excess edible food, but it's morphed beyond that. It's using food to have its greatest impact. So it's changing the food system. It's being able to use food as a source of nutrition that improves people's lives, their condition. So it touches on homelessness, where you have nutritious food, especially for those that are not getting enough. You have access to other resources that improve their lives. So for example, if we talk about homeless, we can take food to a park where homeless are people at and give them food, and you sustain them another day.
Right.
But if you can bring them to where the food is at, where the source of nutrition is, and you have access to other resources, like medical care, chemical dependency counseling, all of these various tools and resources that improve their lives. And it's not easy, and
Right.
it isn't quick, it's
That's
long.
right, yeah.
But over a period of time, that's how we help get people out of that condition. But more importantly, now with a focus on data, we have technology, AI, robotics, all this stuff, we can start identifying who is most likely to end up in that condition. I don't mean to bore you, and I won't go much further.
That's exactly what I'm after.
One thing we used to do at our restaurant is when we had a server that hit 40 years old or so, we'd say, how long are you going to keep doing this? Oh, I love it. I make $400 a day. Okay, but you have 2 kids and you're a single mom.
Right.
What are you going to do when you're 55? Oh, well, I can keep doing this. But physically, you're not going to be able to keep doing this. So that's, in essence, that's an example of predictive analytics. We could see the beauty of being old. We saw these people that we came into the business with they hated life because they had no other job skills. So we would tell them, why don't you start working on your next vocation? What are you going to do next? If it means go to night school or transition to another occupation, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's has always been important to us. But that's how we start shortening the line, as someone always says. We start making an impact on keeping people from falling into poverty and that unhoused condition.
And how extensive is the organization now?
Abound Food Care now works throughout California and in other states. Again, we're trying to have this impact for food, so we have started a national bulk purchasing opportunity so that all these nonprofit agencies all over the country can now participate, and when they buy food, they buy it at the lowest possible price. Typically, they end up going and buying retail, so their money doesn't go as far. So we are now working all over the country.
So there will be a link to that in the description if you're listening. Want to have more information on that. And Ted, I wanted to ask you, what's the state of the market right now for people who are listening to this?
Well, they have to get past the fact that interest rates were 2.5%. The pandemic created that, and unless there's another pandemic, God hope there isn't, rates are not going back to 2.5%. So the market has to just grasp the reality that rates are not high. When I started in the business, rates were 13.9%.
Right.
So I am not playing a violin when somebody complains about 7% or 6.5% because it's based on the income and the payment. Can you make the payment? The unfortunate part about California, and I can say that because where am I at now?
Scottsdale.
Arizona.
Yeah, so the point is that California has been tough on builders. Builders don't want to build there, too highly regulated. So what they've done is they come here to Arizona, they go to Texas, they go to Florida, they go to Tennessee, places that they can build houses less expensive, less regulated. And so consequently, the demand has exploded in California, but there's no new supply. So prices have gone up. So it's difficult. It's difficult for first-time buyers to buy houses. So that was a depressing answer, I know.
But ironically, that's related to what we do.
Right.
Because it drives rents up. 2/3 of a salary right now is dedicated to rent or mortgage.
Right.
So that's that first step into poverty, or the first step is of food insecurity is I got to make my rent payment or my mortgage payment. What do? You skimp on what you eat. You go eat at the 99-cent menu, which now is $4.99.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's false advertising. You can't even park for 99 cents to get into the store.
But it's funny, they're related, especially in California where housing eats up such a large
it's
portion of the budget.
It's connected. And our dad is kind of the seed of his nonprofit. There was not a meal at our house growing up where there wasn't somebody sitting there eating. Sometimes we knew him, sometimes we didn't. But the point is that giving back,
Right.
is something that we've been trained in. It's ingrained. And, that segue from the restaurant to Abound Food Care was, I'm sure, very difficult for Mike. But nobody's done it with more class and more dignity. Every single employee, I'm still in touch with a lot of them, they all found places.
That's good. Yeah.
And they all are doing significantly better. And that's to be proud of. You know, it's a legacy, even though the building's now a car wash.
Is that what it is? I haven't been by there in a long time.
It's a car wash.
Oh, that's a shame.
But it's interesting because of our backgrounds. We identified early on in this process of recovering food that it's not as easy as it's donated and it goes right to a nonprofit agency. So our dad at heart was a teacher. He loved teaching and mentoring. So we have developed these food repurposing kitchens. So bulk food goes to these kitchens, and students who receive culinary vocational training create meals, and this food is now spread out throughout a large geographic area. But it's really that education,
Right.
And it's just a blast doing it.
That's fantastic. And there'll be a link to Ted's information too in the description. One last question. Any children in baseball?
Any
Or
what?
grandchildren?
What?
Children or grandchildren in baseball?
No grandchildren, no children. To both my daughters, they don't play baseball. In fact, my wife and my two daughters have one thing in common. They would rather have a root canal without Novocaine than even go to a baseball game. Probably it's because growing up with a dad that played baseball nonstop. Now his son, he's a player, Ryan.
Yeah, I remember him, yeah.
Yeah, so you remember Ryan grew up in a dugout. So I would take that, for me to be able to go play baseball on Sunday, the key was he came with me.
Right.
So at 3 and 4 years old, he's in a dugout. And through much of those formative years, we were teammates with a longshoreman. So Ryan learned about colorful language at a young age.
And I'm proud to say that I taught him how to pee his name in the dirt behind the dugout. That's what Uncle Ted's are for.
Which is why we don't have the high school fields we used to have, because
It's a good thing he didn't get a long name either, you know. It's,
He couldn't get his last name out.
No.
His bladder was just not big enough. Jay, this is amazing. I haven't been motivated for 1 second to tie him to a tree out there.
I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you both for being here today, even though it's 114 degrees out. It's been a blast. Fortunately, in the studio, it's not 114 degrees. And I want to thank everybody for listening to this. You hear on other podcasts all the time that they want 5-star ratings. I do not require 5-star ratings. However, please be kind. I'm new at this, and I'm doing it with these two guys. So you got to be kind on that, and also please subscribe. The more people that subscribe, the more opportunity I'm going to get to do this, and I enjoy doing it. And hopefully we can do it a lot more, and hopefully get these two guys back at some point.
Thanks for having us, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.